Everyone, welcome back to my channel. That's me, Kushi, and today we're going to start with another video. So here we have core objects. So core objects deals with arrays and other stuff like that. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. So here we have arrays. That is the introduction to what they are. Arrays store multiple values in a single variable. To store three course names, you need actually three variables. But if you had 500 course, so what are you going to do? In that way, we're going to use an array like this one. We're going to just add those commas and these quotation marks and store the values of the things we want in it. This index declares an array named courses and which stores three values as you can see over here. To refer to any array element, we refer to the index number written in the square bracket. So here, now if I want the thing HTML, I'm going to write the index 0. Now, why is it like that? In such programming languages, we have seen that the indexing starts from 0. This was done in the very first lectures, that was the basic. So if you have not watched the video, just make sure that you've done it. Now here, if I want to refer to CSS, I would go on with a 1. And for JavaScript, I would go on with a 2. And so on. If I am going for the 500th element, I would just write 499 because the indexing starts from 0. So here we have HTML and we are changing course number 1, which doesn't mean HTML. It changes CSS to C++. So that's how this thing works. Now attempting to access an index outside of the array returns an error. So that is very basic. Now let's see what is next. Now we look at some another methods to declare an array. So now if you have to declare an array, tell it the number of elements you can store and add the elements wherever you want that to in your code. So yeah, this is how this thing works. There is another method. This sounds more easier when you have not decided what the elements are going to be and you're going to do that later in the next steps. So that's how this thing works. And an array is a special type of object. An array uses numbers to access its elements and an object uses names to access its members. Now, arrays are so dynamic that you can declare an array and not pass any argument with the array constructor, and then you can add the elements dynamically. Now here, if I don't know number of elements I'm gonna add, but still I can just do that without adding the number. In the previous case, we've seen that you need to add the number of the number of elements you want in your array. But even if you don't want to do that, it's totally your wish. You can just leave the bracket empty and just fill the number of arrays you want. So this is more readable and easier to understand. Now let's look at the next concept. Now after core objects, we have array properties and their methods. So let's see what they are. Now, JavaScript arrays have a useful built-in function, and that's the array length property. This is a very basic one, and we have seen this in different forms previously as well. So if you want the length of your array, so here that's course.length, and that is going to return 3. Now, why is it 3 and why not 2? Yeah, now that doubt is going to come because the indexing starts from 0. This is no way related to indexing because indexing is when you want to refer to the object. But course length, when we use a property length, we just count the number of items in it. So that's 1, 2, and 3, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's how this thing works. The length property is always 1 more than the highest array index. So here, if you want to just use that way, we have the highest index as 2 because this is 0, this is 1, I'm sorry. Because as you know, HTML is gonna be 0, this is gonna be 1, and this is gonna be 2. Now if I want to find out the length, it's just gonna be 2 plus 1, which is 3. So that's how this thing actually works. So in this way, you can find out the length of your course. This is actually useful when you have like uh, many of these elements in your array and you don't know how many they are, then you can just use this thing. The JavaScript concat method allows you to join two arrays and that is going to create a new array. This is actually used there in Python, but that works with strings over there, and here it works with such arrays. So here we have two of these little arrays, that is C1 and C2. So C1 has two courses. The length of C1 is going to be 2 and the length of C2 is going to be 2 as well. But here, if you want to see the indexing of HTML and JS is going to be 0. Whereas the indexing of CSS and C++ is going to be 1. So when you want to find the length of the array using this thing, you're just going to do 1 plus 1, that is 2. Now here I want a totally new array which has a name of courses. Here what is we're gonna do? I'm sorry. Here what we're gonna do is we're gonna just mix up C1 and C2. So the new array is gonna be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and C++. So that's how the concat method works on arrays. So this is the result. The concat operation does not affect the C1 and C2 arrays. So if you want to So here, if you've done the concatenation and you're done with it, later if you want to just refer back to C1 only, you can actually refer back to it. There is no issue in that. Now let's see the next thing. Now, many programming languages support arrays with named indexes, which is where we have the index. Now, let's say my array has three values, that is 1, 2, and no. Let's take A, B, and C. So the indexing is going to be 0, 1, and 2. That is respectively. But for some languages, we can have named indexes, which means that instead of 0, I can use any letter, let's say X, instead of 1, I can use Y, and instead of 2, I can use anything. But JavaScript does not support this kind of named indexing. You have to particularly use the 0, 1, 2, 3 order. So there is no other chance for indexing. You have to index it in that way. And those are called as associative arrays. JavaScript does not. However, you can use named array syntax, which will produce an object. So here we have person, and that is an empty array. Now, person is going to have two things, like it is going to have two elements in it, which are name and the age. So you can have them like this, but not in that way. Then you can have the two things as John and 46, that's upon you. Then if you want to print them, you have to refer them as this itself. Then if you refer them with 0 and 1, that's gonna not work at all. A person is treated as an object instead of being an array, and the named indexes, name and age, become the properties of the person object. As a person array is treated as an object, the standard array methods and properties will produce incorrect results. For example, person.length will be 0. So that's how it works. Now, JavaScript does not support arrays with named indexes. In JavaScript, arrays always use numbered indexes, and it is better to use an object when you want the index to be a string. So in such cases, it's better to use this kind of object, because eventually your element is going to be treated as an object itself. So just make them objects and start referring them in that way. Now use an array when you want the index to be a number. So this thing is very, very important when you want to use arrays in long programs. So that's just going to help you out. Now, if you use a named index, JavaScript will redefine the array into a standard object. So it's better that you directly make it an object and make your code more readable. So yeah guys, that's it for today's video. If you like the video, just like, share, subscribe, comment down below and press the notification bell. Meet you in my next video. Thank you. Bye bye.